Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on the 2002 Japanese horror film Dark Water. Now, as you know, Dark Water is a 2002 Japanese horror film that was directed by Hideo Natakata, as well as being based on the short story Floating Waters that was a collection of short stories known as Dark Water by Koji Tsukakaki. And I remember as a kid watching the sort of American remake from 2005, and after watching Ryan Holliger's review on Dark Water, I decided to be a bit more venturous and try to get the copy off eBay, building up my Halloween stash. So, the premise of the film is meant to follow Yoshimi, who is in the midst of a divorce against her cold, bitter, and kind of controlling husband, and we see how she rents an apartment with her daughter, Aikuko. Now, I would say Yoshimi is trying to put her life back together, is trying to find a steady job, and is just trying to rebuild her life. And you can tell Aikuko does try to be supportive with her mum's attempts at trying to rebuild their lives. And we do kind of see how, over the course of the film, strange things happen at their apartments. And we do kind of see how things like the ceiling starts to leak. We see how Yoshimi sees a sort of red bag appearing almost every time. And this is where we do kind of see how Yoshimi starts to kind of put the pieces together, and also kind of realizes that from a sort of missing persons poster, and how the kindergarten teacher points out about a young girl who used to be at the kindergarten, the same as Aikuko used to be there, she starts to put the pieces together. Now, I would say the premise has a simple message, that sometimes being a parent means making difficult choices, and sometimes realizing what's best for your kid. And I would say the difference between Yoshimi and her husband is, I think Yoshimi does want to do the right things, but I think sometimes kind of lets her fears and paranoia get the best of her. And I think it's shown that her ex-husband, wants to believe he's doing the right things and tries to kind of use tactics. I think it's implied that he's a bit scared and just wants to kind of believe what he's doing is right. And I think it's like that one ex who tries to use tactics and other methods to make the other parent look bad. And you can kind of tell Yoshimi does try to do what she thinks is right. And you can kind of tell at the same time her lawyers do try to advise her not to kind of go too extreme. And I think when you do have the ghost girl, Mitsuko, I think they don't really build much with her, and I think that was the point. Like, I think they weren't going to show her what she originally looked like, but having her revealed near the end as a kind of spirit-like being really does work. And it's also implied the two staff members are aware of what happened to her, but you can tell they're trying to poorly cover it up, showing they have no concern or care for what happened to her. I think the story doesn't really build much of the horror, and I think that's the point, because I think the point with Japanese horror is taking time with the story, not making it too predictable, and trying to build things up. And you can kind of tell at the end of the story, you do kind of see Aikuko realizing that deep down her mother was always there for her and was always there to have kept her safe. And I think sometimes being a parent, like a mum or dad, means sometimes realizing what's best for your kid and knowing deep down they're better off with you. And even people who basically care about your parent knows that deep down you are always better off with them. I think Dark Water isn't a bad movie. I think there is a few predictable moments, but nothing badly predictable. And you can kind of tell that's what I think Hideo Nadakata was actually trying to go for. Not too predictable, but showing you in the end, Yoshimi was just willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. So I think this movie still deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.